Hi everyone, it's Barry from Jerusalem. We just finished the Sabbath and we just finished the Sukkot holiday, the blessed holiday. We see great changes. You know, in the first year, last year, 2 years ago, we were attacked on Sukkot in Jerusalem. And the first year, we thought that we were in real problems, but those that had the faith and belief that we could overturn what appears to be a very evil attack by taking the initiative for our whole national security was in effect threatened, just like on Purim, the Jews of Purim, Mordechai and Esther, the queen of that period. Also, they had fast, they prayed, they took action, and that's we are. We're people of action. We defend good, we defend the common wealth of humanity in our design to carry the wisdom of the Jewish people. That's what I'm here for, is to give you a little insight into Jewish learning and what it means, because the time differences in the constellations, this is what Abraham had. He was a master of astrology, but he came upon understanding in a midrash that says it was the sun and the moon that the midrash pulls out from the text various ideas, and the symbol was that there must be a sign when the sun rises and the moon sets, that there's a greater force. And he was counteracting the force of false gods, false belief systems. So Abraham really symbolizes father of faith. And some of the rabbis in our tradition explain, how do we get to that faith? Because the faith of God is hidden. As I mentioned on last week's Parsha, the Maharal said that in the first sentence of the Torah, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. These 7 words include the word Elokim, which is the word of God in his might of judgment, which is parallel to what you see in nature here. You see, I take a lot of my videos in nature, because we see that God is hidden in nature. He can take a tree and he can make it grow, and he makes plants, but it needs a perfect amount of sun, needs a perfect amount of rain. Too much rain destroys things. In the Tractate of Bracha, we learn about the rain. The rain is the Kutei Maharan says that there's no two raindrops that are the same, just like there are no two fingerprints, for example, are not the same. No 2 snowflakes are the same. We're all individuals with a certain potential. We have a potential to create and we have a potential to destroy. So God says in nature, when somebody tries to affect the world, in our tradition, we have an oral and written tradition, which creates borders, and these borders is the gvul, or the oral tradition at Sinai was on 2 levels, was to be passed through the speech. We look at our phones, we don't even talk anymore, and it's much easier to just send a text, an angry message out to a text, and not really think about what you're doing, because now we're all connected, billions, by the little phone. But the phone and the internet was really created for teaching Torah. People don't realize it. People use it for the dark side, but God gives us a freedom of choice. Whatever side you want to go. You want to go to the side of darkness, of Gaza, or you want to go to the side of Israel. And this light is being shown. We have this concept of Elohim, which is judgment. The third word in the Torah mentions judgment. This means, where is this judgment from? In Kabbalah, it's from the first man and the second and second lady. We're not talking about presidentials. The first man and the first lady were together in the garden in a peace utopian, and then there was a snake. This snake represents the devil. It's the Yetzer Hara. It's our tongue. But he wants our tongue to be holy, to say nice and kind words. When we say bad words, the Chofetz Chaim says, we affect the one we're talking about, and the one that was spoken about is affected, and he's not there to defend himself. And these lies, over and over again, get churned to kill a person, to murder a person over and over. And that's what's happening today in the world. This open internet is the wisdom of a generation lost, and the Jewish people is the wisdom of a generation of the nuclear, which is the basic family of male and female, like Adam and Eve, and the grandparents, you see? But they didn't have grandparents. So God created, it says, Bereshit bara, and Rashi interprets that this, in the beginning, refers to God had a Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses, the oral tradition, to be passed on. And if you notice, why isn't this said in the why is it said in the 2nd book of Exodus? And why did he destroy in the very first chapter of the Torah the world? He was making a point. If we don't follow the one commandment in the first book, the Maharal speaks about this, not to eat from one of these trees, just one tree. That was the only commandment. This Adam and Eve were not Jewish. This was the first people. But God, through Abraham, created the 3 traditions. You have Christianity, you have through Catholicism, through the Roman Church, and then you have Muslim through the conquest of Jerusalem by the Muslims in the 7th century, and the Christians 70 AD and 386 BCE by the Babylonians. So you have all these things focused on the Jewish people and the Jewish nation, because these people understood the power and the wisdom of the Jewish people. You have the nuclear family and the extended family. How is that presented? You have Abraham as the grandfather. That's called extended family in sociology. I am a sociology major from the University of Massachusetts. People once asked me, I was a director at a country club, and the gardener said to me, he says, what are you studying sociology for? Well, I didn't know at the time, to be honest with you. I didn't know what I wanted. But I said, I want to study something interesting and easy. But we can't take the easy way out. That's the whole thing. We have to know that the timing, when to speak and when to back down and when to be silent. This is all part of the Jewish tradition. I only understand it now because I've been fired by so many jobs. It's only to come to the land of Israel, which was my ultimate mission. So we have to recognize that there is judgment in the world for our actions and our behaviors and our speech. And if you don't have the wisdom to understand that, I'm trying to hold the family together by teaching ancient Jewish values long before Christianity, long before Islam. If you see the bottom stones in the Kotel, inside, opposite the temple where they used to sacrifice the animals to atone for their sins and elevate their sins and cleanse their sins through the sincere intention to be pure. This is what the Torah is about. This is what I'm trying to express to the people. Jews were not really supposed to do this. We're not even supposed to learn Kabbalah until we're 40. But just like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who was under captivity with the Romans, decided to hide in a cave rather than be killed, and he was up to his neck and he covered, and he was living on a tree, figs, whatever he was living on. Miraculously, when he saw the Romans coming, he went under dirt, and then he had 4 or 5 disciples, and he said, we have to teach you the tradition, the oral tradition, that's getting lost here because we're under siege by the Romans, you see. So these students of his, we actually read about in the Passover, because the Passover was the exodus of Egypt, and we have to remember this every year. And we sit at the Seder table to relive the Egyptian experience of what God did for us, how He liberated us. And 49 days later, we received the Torah on Shavuot, which was 7 consecutive weeks that involved doing the 10 commandments, which are 613 mitzvos given to the Jewish people, not just for their own sake, but for the whole world. There were even 70 sacrifices in the times when the temple were built just for the nations. So we have the 70 nations, and we have the sacrifices in their honor, to give them a message, to say, these are the values. You have to eradicate your ego, and you have to focus on a third entity, not foreign ideologies, not foreign gods, not idol worship, but you have to focus on the divine. The only way you get to the divine is through Nesionot, we call it in Hebrew, is through trials. And Abraham is the perfect example, because his perfect example was the miracle that happened when Sarah said to him, she's the matriarch of the Jewish nation. You know, she comes from the family in Iran and Iraq where they're mixed. So these genes are all in us, all the way down from thousands of years ago, and they have to be purified. And it was the Jewish nation that he said. He went to the other nations. He asked them. There's one nation, the Midrash says, do you want to steal? Don't steal. He says, oh, we love stealing. Well, how can we survive? Okay, you can't have the Torah. Do you want to have, do you kill? Yeah, we love killing. That's our way of life. Now they have AI, robots. It's no fun killing. You've got to find a better way. Killing these robots is like going into a pinball machine. You press a button and they explode. But our society is about violence, and we're like babies. We see all these killings on the violence, and then it becomes part of our soul. We can go now in America in grocery shopping, and somebody said, hey, you cut money in line, she takes out a gun and shoots a guy. What madness? There's no values. The family values of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are now kaput. It's a liberal type of thinking, even with Jews, because when Jews become so integrated into the non-Jewish world, they become like the non-Jewish people. That's why you have guys like Trump and Netanyahu very similar, because though they appreciate the value of the past, they're both kind of liberal into thinking, hey, this land is for anybody. No, the land was for the Jewish people to all be here. And now he's creating anti-Semitism all over the world for them to return. So instead of being unhappy and fearful, we should be faithful that Hashem is revealing. It's written, the third word in the first sentence of the Torah. And then there are 28 words that are the pyramid, back to Egypt, that are the pyramid of what they're hidden in the building. Every nation has its own purpose, and it's all divinely inspired. So this is what we have to do. We have to kind of look and see where God is going and try to tap into that. And don't be impressed by people who really don't know what they're talking about in terms of Chachma. Chachma is wisdom. We Jews have the wisdom, and I'm trying to share it with you, just like Rabbi by Shimon Bar Yochai shared it with the his 5 disciples in order not to lose the oral tradition. I'm sharing it to the rest of the Jews in the diaspora. More than 2,000 years of exile, the final exile with the Romans coming in, doing a real nice job and creating anti-Semitism in the Roman Catholic Church for 2,000 years. And very nicely and politically correct. Said, well, the Jews, you don't deserve the land. You couldn't get along yourself in the land. And they were right about that. And that's why we were executed from the land. Because God said, this land is holy, but don't have your politicians give it away because it's my land. And how do you know it's proof that it's my land? Because on the 50th day, when the Jews received the Torah on Mount Sinai, and it was an oral tradition to be passed on, it mentions mitzvahs in the land, but they didn't even get into the land yet. Well, go into the land, receive the 10 Commandments. Now he says, okay, you've got 7 nations there, Canaanite nations, who sacrifice their children, who are not godlike, who are wild. They sacrifice their children to the gods. To gods? I'm telling you, I came out of space. I came from Shemayim, the heavens, to tell you, you people, I'm for you. I'm for the Jew. I'm for the Gentiles. I'm for everybody. Just follow me. Don't put your arrogance to work, because I hate arrogance. It's not me. I'm full of love. That's my essence. I only want to see good. And I'm creating all this for your benefit. But you can't see it, because the trick is to see the hidden being revealed. And this is revealed in the Tetragrammaton of the 4-letter name in Hashem's, Yud K Vav K. What does that mean? There are many aspects of God's name, but it's not physical, because he isn't physical. But what the second part of God's name is, when you do sin, Lezinks from Chassid from Europe was very firm in his commitment to God and the fear of God. You have to get to the love of God, and that's the unity of man. So he said, when you do sin, you can always come back, and that's the Yud K Vav K. That's the 4-letter name of Hashem, not Elohim. Elohim is judgment. In other words, the world was created Rabbi Elimelech from Lezing says, in two ways. It was created in strict justice, but he realized we can't do anything with the strict justice. There's nothing we can do, because we're imperfect and God is perfect. So what are we going to do? So God said, use Yud K Vav K. Use the 4-letter name of my holy name to evoke mercy and true justice, not fake justice. True wisdom, not fake kindness. You have to discern between what's real, what's true, and what's fake. And that's the beauty of Torah. When you get into the zone and you realize that everything happens to you is because God made it happen to you, then through the light and through the exercise, and that exercise was held with Yitzchak Avinu, with the second founding father, right? We have the father, Abraham, and Yitzchak. Yitzchak was born, and he said, from you, Yitzchak, are going to be a very special nation. At 8 days, I'm going to circumcise you. Now, he met his wife. Again, I had mentioned before that his wife gave birth at 100, but at 90. And she laughed, and that Yitzchak means to laugh. My name is Yitzchak Beryl Itchik, which in Hasidis, in the Hasidic mentality, means to laugh. And regarding Rav Ali Melech, you see the cat in the back? The cats are angelic. We don't understand. Animals can't speak, but they are the shamas. They are like angels. They are living spirit of God. We have to guard our trees. When I'm talking from, I put my phone in a bark of a tree to give you a little idea of what I need to do to get my message out. And I'm doing it all for the love of Hashem, which means the name of God. So, with this in mind, you have to understand that the land is holy. Now, he said, when you come to the land and you conquer these evil, primitive nations, which I offered the land to and they rejected, and some of them wanted to come over, but we don't encourage converts. We're not like, we don't encourage them. Even there are rules in captivity when we conquer a place. We can't touch the trees. The trees are holy. We have to have respect, even for the captive. If the captive wants to become Jewish, for example, we can't touch them for 30 days, and we have to let them free if they choose not to be. So we're a very refined nation, you see? We're very good people. And that's the Israeli army is the best army in the world. They're taking the hits. They've lost how many injured, only because defending their country. Now that land, Gaza, belonged to Jews, and the Jewish chacham, the wisdom of the Jewish people said, oh, you can give this land away. But God told us, every 7 years, there's a law on Mount Sinai that happened. Every 7 years, you have to, if you owe anything on the land, you have to stop working on it. And I'll see that you'll have everything. That's faith, right? And then there's another cycle that says after 7 years, every 49 years, if you owe anything to your landlord because he's sucking your drive for rent, he doesn't have to pay you because the land is mine. Now you're giving this holy land as a gift to the Gazans, where a temple existed before this rogue nation was created from the Arab nations who control the area and outnumber the Jews 100 million to 1. This tiny thing, they don't even put Israel on the map. It's the size of New Jersey. What they did with this gift that these politicians, Trump and Netanyahu, gave to the now they're negotiating with Saudi Arabia because they realize these Hamas and Hezbollah are very dangerous, and they're going to get us. They're going to get the whole world, and our world's going into darkness. I wrote my book, Dodging with the Devil, and when I wrote in this book, America, get away, because the first line in my intro book on Book Locker and Amazon, and I'm telling you, it's coming to America. And I'm not a prophet, and I don't really know much at all. But I wanted to warn the people. And it's what to happen. Because I'm in the spirit of the Holy One. I've looked at my life, and I spent a lot of time learning, my whole life. Because that's what a Jew's supposed to do. So, when they gave away the land, what happened? They gave away a piece of God. The land's holy. Yaakov's twin brother Esau, who decided not to share in the responsibility of bringing Torah to the world, ended up becoming the Western civilization, ended up becoming Greece, ended up becoming Rome. But he still has a mission. We were the builders. But we Jews that didn't break away, that stayed with God, we build spirituality. Even the word for building in Hebrew, the Hebrew words are holy, and they emanate sparks. They emanate light. So the Havin is to understand. Right? A ben is a son. Binah is on the left side, is a feminine characteristic, where it has both male and female characteristics balanced in the middle. So we don't have any gender identity problems. We don't have any other color problems either, because it's the color and the gender. When you're with God, it makes no difference as a Jew. You can have a black Jew, you can have a Jewish Jew, you can Chinese Jew, you're Korean Jew. They love Talmud. So you have to convert, but we don't convert. We don't look to convert. We wanted the land because that's what God told us to do. So there are aspects of the land that are holy. And there's parts of the land that really belong to Esau that are designated. And this was Lebanon and Syria area going. And then, and Lot, who was his nephew, was Iran and Iraq. And the four kings that took Lot, Abraham came with a few people and destroyed the four kings because he has the blessing of the chesed and the kindness and spirit. When Lot's animals were stealing on the lands, grazing on the lands, when they're getting too big, Abraham said, I gotta make a split now, man. So Abraham went to the right, he went to the left. And when he got in trouble, Abraham came to save him. So that's how special Abraham is. But he looks for everybody in all the major religions, because they emanate from him, that you can always return. It doesn't matter how bad you are. And that's where you need the Jewish presence that get into the core of what it means, divikut, which means devik is glue, to be pure with your God, eradicate your ego, and move forward with the right understanding, with the balance. You need a balance. So the Maharal, this was the Maharal that I gave over last week. Well, I've been giving it over on one of the sites. And there's another, this next week is Parsha Noah, the same thing. The world again was destroyed. And in the next Parsha after that, you have the Tower of Babel. Why? Because of the Tower of Babel, Babel means ba. He confused 70 nations, 70 languages. Le Babel is to babble. Even the words come from the Hebrew. So we see the first three chapters, the world was destroyed because of arrogance, because nobody's listening. The people of Babel wanted to build a tower to attack God. Say, hey, he's giving us a lot of power, let's do it. So he mixed up their languages. So that's why in the beginning, Bereshit bara, God created the world that we would see through the vision of Aram, which is in the second book, which has the Torah and the mitzvahs, the action required with the mitzvahs. There's Torah, which is the knowledge, but the knowledge is not empirical. It's knowledge through action. When the Sabbath comes, you turn off your lights, you have everything cooked, and you know that the 6 days of creation, on the 6th day where man was created, close to Shabbos, he went and ate from the tree of knowledge, and that's why we have this correction. So, I know I've spoken a lot, but it's almost 29 minutes. But I hope it gives you some understanding. I hope we all have a good week. Have a good week.